To me, I'm overcoming, steady grinding, keep my beat to the street. I keep my mind thinking wise, hoping better to keep rising high, go get it with the vision I see. I'm getting clever, yeah. Special deliveries out. Special deliveries out. I'm on the way. I'm on that midday hustle and I'm hitting my stride. Clock ticking, never missing, no reason to hide. City passing while I'm moving and I'm taking it in. Hitting every door, crashing and I'm wearing a grin. Through this alleyway, stuck in, navigating awake. Every package is a hustle, I'm wide awake. No slowing, improving, making these cakes moving. Through what they take, ooh, what they feel I create. Demons are playing, no overstand, I'm free in my zone. Drop hit, pick it up, was full control. Don't mind if I splash while I'm making these waves. Life like a knife, baby, and I'm cutting my way, I'm better. about that? Bring it on back. Look where we at. How about that? How about that? Exactly where I wanna be. You'll catch me doing as I please. Don't think I've ever felt so free. I keep on flowing with the breeze. Let's ignite this feeling. Gotta let it out. Dancing on the ceiling won't come down. How about that? Bring it on back. Look where we at. How about that? How about that? I'm cool, I'm making my own rules. Don't tell me what to do. Round two, look out, I'm coming through. I keep on making moves. How about that? Bring it on back. Look where we at. How about that? How about that? How about that? Sweet air, something like I'm breathing in moonlight. Let's meet where the people in the sky are up all night. I need this, so dance with the gravity. I eclipse with your hands all over me. Ooh, I swear, you got me way up there, a cosmic affair. Ooh, I swear, looking at you
Keep that round of applause going. Weren't they amazing? So much fun. What are you doing over there? One of you sit here. This is great. I want to give another round of applause for Emily Kristen Morris, who starred as Alfaba in the Broadway National Tour of Wicked. And Rebecca Bruce, a Broadway music director and pianist with credits including, little shows like Mean Girls and the Lehman Trilogy. So give them another round of applause. Keep the energy up. It's Friday. Happy Climate Week. You made it. We're here. It's Friday. Thank you all for being here. My name is Danny Nierenberg, and I am president and co-founder of Food Tank. For those of you who don't know, Food Tank is a research and advocacy organization really devoted to highlighting stories of hope and success in our food and agriculture systems. We do this with the aim to inspire, motivate, and ultimately activate positive transformation in how we produce and consume food. And that's why I'm so excited to be here today to talk about how we can, regenerate our soils and really improve the world. Soil health, as you all know, is the basis of global food and nutrition security, and it holds the key to climate resilience. Healthy soils sequester carbon and retain more water. They help crops withstand extreme and more severe weather events. They produce food that is more nutrient dense. But as my friend Siglin Snap, who is one of the premier soil scientists in the world, says, under our feet all the time, soils are degrading. And UNESCO recently warned that 90% of the planet's land surface could be degraded by 2050. But if we embrace regenerative agriculture practices, and if we remember that there is no one-size-fits-all approach, we can find the right combination of tools and practices and innovation in people that can help improve our land. I am excited to be with you all today. I want to thank Arva and Jay McEntire for making this possible, Olivia Weil and Nora Shanti from Arva. Give them a round of applause. Thanks to Kiss the Ground, Evan Harrison, Nathan Rice, and Jackie Peller. Give them a round of applause. This space we're in is very special. WNYC and their staff are just the most amazing people in the world. Give them a round of applause. And our culinary partner, Great Performances, has made sure that we are all nourished and eating delicious food all week. So give them a round of applause. I also want to tell you that my co-founder and I, Bernie Pollock, he did something really incredible this year. We decided to really integrate the arts more closely with everything we're doing. And we brought together, in addition to wonderful speakers who are experts in food and agriculture, a ton of performers who are the biggest stars on Broadway, to make sure that we see that there is hope, right? Artists always give us hope. And so we've had these wonderful musical performances. We're going to have a night of farmer storytelling, and just making sure that we integrate the arts with everything we do. That's what's going to give us hope. That's what's going to make us more resilient to everything that's happening. I want to get a little housekeeping out of the way. Today's discussions and panels are meant to be very fast-paced and dynamic. If I cut someone short or if I drag a speaker off the stage, it's happened before, please forgive me later. We just want to hear from everyone and make sure that this is a really collaborative kind of event. Whether you're in the room or watching online, and thank you for tuning in online, please use the hashtag Climate Week NYC. And you can also email me at danielle@foodtank.com. I'm not checking my email, but Bernie is. So now I'm excited to turn to our first conversation. We're going to set the stage for why we're all here. So I get to introduce Evan Harrison, the CEO of Kiss the Ground. Another round of applause, please. And Jay McEntire, the CEO of Arva. So this is for you both. It's clear that regenerative practices work, that they're good for farmers, and they're good for us as eaters. But how do we make the economic case? Which one of you wants to go first?
Oh, that's an easy one. We need to empower the farmers. Our policy, and forever and a day for most governments, is to reward cheap calories, right? We have cheap calories. We produce a lot of grains. We can export those. It's good for international policy. It's good for consumers. So we're optimized in our systems to produce cheap calories. It works. My farm is 1.5% organic matter until we took over, started doing regenerative practices. My co-founder's 15 miles away at 6%. It's about 70 tons of carbon. So we know its potential. So what we've been able to catalyze with some of the people in this room, some of our clients and some of our channel partners, I'm so glad to have them here, and you guys can engage with them to find out more. But we've been able to, our theory of change is to reward farmers to do good practices and to get more involved in its working amazingly. So what we've been able to do is create value through the value chain, the farm supply chain. And through the end of this year, we'll have paid out more than $100 million to farmers over the last 3 years. And so that's really material to farmer incomes. If you don't know, this year will be the worst year for farmers in 50 years. So income from doing both the environmental best thing as well as the data that we're collecting to optimize agronomy is driving impact materially. We're giving back to the communities, we're impacting the communities, and showing a different pathway from cheap calories. We're really good at this country at doing things at scale. And now we need to start thinking about how we do this at scale to give farmers that optionality to be able to be a supplier of environmental benefits and healthier food and on. And then Evan will tell you all about the details on how to get the farmer and the story.
Thanks, Jay. Evan, what are your thoughts?
First of all, I love bringing entertainment into this conversation space. Inspirational, coming from a place of happy and inspirational is how we solve big problems. And while Danny, you started off by sharing you all know about soil being the root of all these issues we're talking about, most people don't. So only 7% of the US adult population is aware of the term regenerative agriculture and can answer what it is on a multiple choice test. We gave a test, and it was a third-party survey. And interestingly, 74% of those polled want to purchase food that makes them healthy. And climate is a slightly different conversation. Fewer people feel that that's their issue to solve, but it's okay because healthy soil will help us solve both planetary and human health issues. So our focus is on getting that 7%, which, by the way, 18 months ago was only 4% awareness, through telling inspirational stories every day, and stories of all sizes. Instagram reels to 10-minute mini documentaries, being present every day as a voice of the farmer, telling heroic stories of farmers. And just as Emily came up here and I think impressed us all with an amazing musical performance, farmers are really the rock stars of the work we do at Kiss the Ground right now. And we amplify their stories every single day, all with the singular purpose to inspire people to think about where the source of their food is coming from. And there's a big gap there. So I mentioned 74% want to buy something healthy, yet only 50% read food labels, and more than half don't understand what those food labels are saying. Yet 88% look at labels like natural and fresh and say, oh, okay, I'll buy that because that'll make me healthier. Unregulated terms. So education through inspirational storytelling is really the focus.
Thanks so much, Evan. Farmers are heroes, and we'll hear more about that today. I'd love to hear from you both in the minute and a half we have left, that what you're excited about. What are you most looking forward to today? Evan, go first.
Okay. You are going to hear from some amazing farmers. Rick Brown, who you'll hear from later, is, hearing directly from the source, I think, is the most inspirational way to really carry a message through.
I'm trying to get Rick to come down to Arkansas to manage my farm, actually. So, no, this is going to be just being here in the room, learning about this. When I asked on Wednesday how many people had heard of regenerative, to Evan's point, only a few have. It's important. It's important for the brands to know that their investment in regenerative and resilient supply chains is something that you recognize, that you want to make sure is there. And so I'm really excited for you to hear from those brands today that'll be here and help us talk and amplify that story. So
wonderful. Stay put for just a second while I introduce the next panel and talk about rock stars and heroes and sheroes. This panel is going to be amazing. We have Jamie Ager, a farmer and the co-founder and CEO of Hickory Nut Gap. Give him a round of applause. John Moore, a farmer at St. Croix Farm. Our good friend Clara Coleman, a second-generation four-season farmer and a farm consultant and founder at Real Farmer Care. And Patrick Brown, you can go ahead. And Patrick Brown, a fourth-generation farmer at Brown Family Farms and the director of the Growing Farm Prosperity Program with Nature for Justice. And you get to hear from someone other than me, the wonderful journalist, food and agriculture journalist at Forbes, Chloe Sorvino, a Food Tank longtime friend. Give her a round of applause.
All right, welcome to the last afternoon session of Climate Week. Who is excited? Who's been inspired by what we've been hearing? Okay, so I'm so excited to be here. I'm so honored to be here at the panel of 4 farmers. I know we've had a lot of different types of folks we've been hearing from around this week, but I think it is the most important that we hear from the people who are actually growing our food, who are actually putting all their risk and their money, their energy, their times, and their families out there for everyone to have tables of food. So with that, I'm thrilled I'm going to kick it off with Jamie. Jamie, you just announced you're running for Congress. You are a 4th-generation farmer in North Carolina. So tell us, what's your why? What's like driving this run for you?
Okay, I'm a 4th-generation farmer. My family's been in Western North Carolina for over 100 years. So I am, the past 25 years, I've been raising grass-fed beef and pasture-raised pork. And about 7 or 8 years ago, I heard the term regenerative for the first time. So that was a good chance to kind of like, oh, this is what this is called. That sounds good. And so that's what we've been doing for a while. And then, lately, my kids are grown, and I am a patriot. I care about our country. And I think that food and agriculture in rural America has been left behind in a lot of ways. And I see a lot of opportunity for sort of bipartisan agricultural policy change. And I have a great team of people helping to run the farm right now. So I'm like, should I do this or not? And they were like, yeah, do it. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So the main thing about running for Congress is we run with the system we have, not the system we want. And the system we have right now means I have to raise a lot of money. So that's a good thing to say while I'm up here.
Well, let's turn to the rest of our farmers up here. Can you tell us a bit about what types of regenerative practices you're employing right now and how that's evolved on your farm over time? Feel free to hop in, anyone. Yeah.
Well, I'll go first. We utilize a crop that's considered a specialty crop in North Carolina, industrial hemp fiber, to remediate soil by no-tilling that product into the soil and focusing on biodiversity and microbial fungi and organic matter. And that's been one of the crops that has really been beneficial to our farming operation.
Great.
So I come from a different background from these 3. These 3 are amazing, but I'm coming from a much smaller scale model. So my family farm, 4 Seasons Farm in Maine. My mom and dad started that in 1968 with 2 inches of topsoil, in a spruce fir forest, and now there's like over 12 inches of this like black gold soil.
Wow.
And that is just from compost and organic matter and all these amazing practices that we seem to be calling regenerative now. But I've been around for almost 50 years. And those terms have changed over and over again. So.
Very enough.
So I'm from upstate New York. We've got a 720-acre farm that is completely seeded down from one end to the other to either pasture or some hay crops. And we graze about 150 head of cattle on that rotationally. 3 different groups with 3 different nutritional profiles: finished cattle, cow-calves, and stocker cattle. And we harvest about 50 animals a year.
Wow. Okay. And Jamie, tell us quickly how your practices are regenerative.
Oh, rotational grazing, pasture-raised livestock. We do pasture poultry, and then we are big practitioners. We're also a savory hub at the farm, and so we promote sort of ecological outcome verification tools and holistic management broadly.
Yeah, so I know from my reporting and from writing my book, Raw Deal, all about the meat industry and climate change, that, there are some lands that are so degraded from monoculture and decades of pesticides and fertilizers and all these synthetics that really nothing will bring those lands back to the ability to serve food and produce food other than these regenerative practices. So I think it's really important keeping that in mind as we're having this conversation. But I want to talk a little bit more about how climate change and the crises that are already here, the extreme weather that's already here, have been impacting your work. Can you share a bit about what that's been like, and if any of the practices you've seen have helped, at least kind of soften some of the blows that have been coming?
Yeah, well, I'll go first. The section that we farm about 550 acres in Warren County, North Carolina. It's considered highly erodible land, and we were a tobacco production farm. up until 2017. And so the continued tillage allowed some of the topsoil to run off. And by incorporating no-till programs, that's really stopped that and dealing with the unpredictable weather conditions, either drought or heavy gully washing rainfall that we have been receiving every other year.
Wow, great.
Yeah, so when I had a farm in Colorado, obviously drought was a huge issue. And then when I was farming at my family farm in Maine, rain, flooding, I mean, I had greenhouses that almost blew away during hurricane-like events, you know, and then this summer in particular has been incredibly dry. So it's just all over the place. And I want to quickly add that because my passion is about farmer mental health and well-being, that just ultimately ends up impacting their well-being even more. So.
Wow.
So for us, organic matter is a way that we can measure how much moisture the soil can hold. And so we try to focus on that with our grazing practices by leaving material and trampling it down. And so we've raised our organic matter in some fields by 1 or 2 points. And every time you raise a point, you can store 20,000 gallons more of moisture.
Wow. Okay.
So that's a big thing for us. And like this summer, as we all know, it's been pretty dry. I've never seen drought like this, and maybe you can't call it a drought, but people talk about climate change, and we didn't get only a ½ inch of rain from the last week of June until Thursday. Wow. And a lot of our neighbors and friends were feeding their cattle a month ago. We just started feeding our cattle this week.
Wow.
So I feel that you know, is one of the dividends of that.
Yeah.
So 1 year ago tomorrow, we had Hurricane Helene hit Western North Carolina, and it was rough. But I'll say, and that was definitely, you know, connected to some climate activity. And Western North Carolina, we were sort of right in the middle of that hurricane. And I will say that, you know, with all the land that we rotationally graze, perennial pasture, the land was just perfectly fine. There was definitely some fence lines that got ripped out, and everything was underwater for a while. But on the whole, the perennial pasture holds good soils, and all the deep roots of those plants sustained. And then we had a really dry patch right after that hurricane, which was like, okay, but then it all regrew really well, and we had plenty of grazing for the winter through after that. So in some ways, that sort of deep organic matter and healthy root systems proved out during a pretty intense climate event.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And you really told your story too when that was happening. Can you speak to how that impacted your overall farming business too?
I mean, it was sort of like traumatic experience overall. I don't really want to remember it all that well because we're all like, oh, that was awful. But we were out of power for 3 weeks. I mean, it's in Western North Carolina, it's kind of a service-driven part of the country, and that was at the very end of September, so all of that October revenue that we normally get was just sort of wiped out. So our entire, everything just kind of went on hold, and the entire Western North Carolina kind of went into triage mode for about a month. And we're still in it, honestly. It's still pretty rough there at home, and it's rough.
So some argue in the regenerative movement that it's meaningless to do regenerative work without it being organic. I'm curious what the farmers up here think about that, and also how they'd like to see, kind of collaboration moving forward as time goes on.
Well, I would say you can't be organic without being regenerative. We must coexist amongst all labels, whether you're a conventional producer or a organic producer. It's very important that the USDA recognizes regenerative agriculture to provide a baseline of what all agriculturalists or model that should be followed. And I think, that time is coming. We're seeing where climate change is really impactful to a lot of production, along with low commodity prices. That's going to have to benefit producers with a baseline of understanding how important regenerative is.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, I've been around almost 50 years, so I've seen every single term come around. I mean, you've got like deep organic, beyond organic, biodynamic, permaculture. I mean, it just is endless. And, they're all important and great. And I'm glad we've sort of somewhat agreed on this term, regenerative organic. But I will have to say, I'm going to take a slightly different angle here, is that, where all of these practices are so incredibly important, if we don't take care of the farmer first, no one's going to be around to do them. So again, we really need to focus on the farmer first.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We really don't worry about a label or being certified because it's pretty easy to bastardize a term like regenerative.
Fair enough.
So my wife operates a CSA, and we sell a lot of meat retail, all of our meat retail right at the house. So if you want to come inspect us for yourself, you just come right on out there and we'll give you a tour and show you what we're doing. But
Love that.
we don't, there's no sense in us paying $700 or $800 to keep a notebook that somebody comes and looks at for a half hour once a year. So I think that's a lot of malarkey, and we're just good, honest folk.
I love that.
Yeah, my attitude about it is like, claims are helpful, right? I'm a dad I'm a farmer, right? And I understand that agriculture and the food system are way more complicated than any one claim can ever accurately describe. That's just true. I'm also a dad who has to go to Food Lion on Sunday night and buy peanut butter, and an organic claim's pretty helpful in that context, right? So there's a problem here. Like a complicated thing like food described with any claim is just completely inadequate. That's just true. And so to me, it's incumbent upon brands and companies to build not only use claims with customers. They need them. We'll do it. That's all part of the process of the food business. But at the end of the day, our job as a meat company and as a farming operation is to build a company that people respect and admire, and therefore will purchase our products mostly based on that as opposed to just a claim.
Yeah.
Because anytime we use a claim, like you can bring an organic beef out of Australia for way cheaper than we ever
100%.
can. So it doesn't really give us that big of a strategic advantage to use those claims.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean anything for, keeping like resilience and power in local communities or anything like that. So I hear you there. So, we're at this time where, it's really hard for farmers to stay on their land. There's not a new generation often coming to take over, for some, not all, obviously. But I think, in the spirit of inspiring folks maybe to go back to farming or start farming, if someone came up to you and asked, what's the best way to start a farm today? Like, how would you start it? I'm curious, what would you start? Like, what would you actually farm? And what would be the market, like the path to market, the retail aspect of how you set up your farm? For someone who's like just starting out.
Yeah. I would say to identify the need in your community. If there's a food desert or a food insecurity zone, find out ways where that food can be grown on a small plot of land and try to cater to that community, whether it's a farmer's food roadside stand or a local farmer's market, to try to overcome some of those insecurities that your community currently faces.
I love that.
Everyone should know farming is incredibly challenging and incredibly hard, and it's incredibly risky to get involved in it nowadays, but we need more farmers. Yes, the biggest barriers are access to land and capital, so anywhere where a farmer can have help in that realm is incredibly important. I've been involved with this organization called the Farmers Land Trust, and they're really working towards farm commons models. So it's nonprofit structures that are involved in order to support a farmer to be on land that's going to be farmed in perpetuity.
I love that.
So, we need these new models to help farmers, because they're not going to be able to take it all on their own these days. It's just going to be too difficult.
For sure, yeah.
The beauty of some of the practices is they're scalable. You can start with 2 sheep, or you could start with a chicken and still have an off-farm job. And you could raise 100 chickens, process them yourself, and start to build a customer base one customer at a time, one handshake at a time, one relationship at a time. And there's probably somebody that you can find that's 55 to 60 years old or 70 years old that could use a hand, and maybe you could use a corner of one field, or maybe you could take one field or whatever. And it's expensive to get started, but the smaller, you just got to get started. That's what it comes down to. You just got to get started if you're going to do it.
And what does your family learn from its CSA?
So my wife, she said to me, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, I think we need to start a CSA. I said, what the hell is that?
I wish we had a meat CSA around here. I really do.
And But we've got 50 to 55 customers that come every month to pick up frozen meat from us.
Good for you.
And my wife has inherited 50 families. When they come in the door, she's giving people hugs and shaking hands and how are the children doing and how's your mother
Community.
doing? And you know that, I think I know she sells a lot more meat than I do. She's sitting right over there.
Let's go.
I guess if I was going to say, if you're going to start a farm, you need Neva.
Yeah.
There you go. I think it's like, go get it, right? Like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. Rural America is a relationship-based place. You're going to have to go. If you want it, you can go get it. And there's tons of support networks out there for it. And there's a ton of interesting opportunities. But you're going to have to be pretty entrepreneurial about it, and you're going to have to want it. And wanting it means you're going to have to work a lot. You're going to have to, earn the trust of fellow people in your community who are out there. And because people want to see people succeed, especially in agriculture. So young kids that are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and ready to go get it, you'll get attention. People will mentor you through the process.
Okay, so we have only a few more minutes left, and I've got two last questions. So first, if you could, and this is not just because Jamie is running, if you could change one policy or regulation in some way, either local, state, federal, that would have immediate, quick impact and scale for your work, what would that be?
Bring back the farm to school programs.
Yes, okay.
Children need healthy food access to get through their school year. There are families in need that program may be the only valuable food that child may have that day. Is very important for not only access for those children, but for small farms to have direct scalability of a food chain from a small farm to the table of a student or a convalescent home or a senior center. And those projects and programs are very vital, and they need to come back.
Absolutely, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I'm going to say free health care for farmers. And
Love it.
Yeah, and in particular, all the other sort of healing modalities that support farmer well-being. So that could be, therapy, it could be massage,
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
things to keep the farmer body in good shape.
Absolutely.
I'm not smart enough to be able to set policy. There's a lot of smart people around the room that know what to do. We just keep our head down and keep farming. And I don't worry about that other stuff. We just worry about ourselves.
Appreciate it, okay.
Yeah, to me, it's like we need agricultural policy that really encourages entrepreneurship as opposed to discourages entrepreneurship. And I feel like that's a big challenge in the sort of broader agricultural policy in the context that we're trying to de-risk, de-risking sort of conventional row crop production has been the primary goal of mainstream, crop insurance programs, all that. And to me, we can do better than just doing that and really letting people grow good food, healthy food.
Last minute. In the spirit of Climate Week, leave us with a call to action. What do you want this audience and everyone listening to be inspired to do and make change?
Be the difference. We've been hearing about change all week, but we can't just go back to work into our regular lives without making or being the change. Take what we learned this week, apply it in life, and spread the word. Climate is real. Actions are to be made, and people need to pay attention.
Thank you, yes.
Yeah, real quick. So support real farmer care. Each $100 donated supports one farmer with self-care support. So,
Well,
yeah.
easy.
I think, if you could find a farm in your neighborhood or your county that's selling direct to the consumer, if you could support that farmer, somebody like me, that's going to make a big difference to that person. Even if you're spending $100 a month on a regular basis, that's a pretty big deal.
I'll echo that, vote with your dollar every day. You can make a difference in supporting these folks, and also vote for Jamie Ager for U.S. Congress.
Thank you all. That's all the time we have. Enjoy the rest of your Climate Week.
Thank you all so much. Keep that applause going, everyone. Thank you all so much. That was great. Thank you. Thank you. There should be enough seats for everyone. So if you have stuff on your chair, if you think the swag that was laid out for you is somebody's, make sure there's enough room for everyone. So you should find seats in the front or in the middle. I want everyone to be comfortable. Another round of applause for that panel while we're getting set up, please. So in this next segment, we're going to spotlight a few leaders transforming our food and agriculture system. So I get the pleasure of welcoming Don Grant, the Vice President of Cuna Del Mar LLC, to the podium to say some inspiring stuff, Don.
Let's hope.
Round of applause.
I have been told I have a strict 5-minute time limit, so I'm going to just jump right in here. And folks, we've got a lot of hungry people on this planet. Our oceans are under siege. We have climate change accelerating, and we have more demand for healthy protein than ever. I'm not going to be that depressing. So that's just kicking us off here. Effectively, you know, what we're doing at Cuna Del Mar is we're asking ourselves, how can we help? What can we do to fix these problems? And we believe at Cuna Del Mar we have the foundations of a solution here that is bold, scalable, and generative. And effectively, we have been pioneering this space for about 15 years, and we don't have all of the answers. But what we do know is that aquaculture done regeneratively can absolutely revitalize species, it can build biodiversity in the ocean, and it can strengthen communities. So a little bit about Cuna Del Mar. This isn't going to be an advert for us. What I'm showing you here is about 7 different companies that we are the investor in. So Cuna Del Mar is an impact investment fund. We are working as an ecosystem with these companies. And to solve this problem of revitalizing species and regenerative aquaculture, we need this whole network of companies. That's what we've come to learn. And so we have 4 production companies, 3 finfish farms and an oyster farm. We have a genetics company, we have a technology company, and we have a contract research organization. And they have to function in a network if we're going to solve some of these big problems that we have. So folks, this slide you can read. What I want to say is that regenerative aquaculture is not just about the oceans. It is also a land-based resilience program. So if regenerative aquaculture is done properly, communities thrive. We have jobs, we have food security, and then we have economic development happening in these communities. And I want to be clear that regenerative aquaculture isn't something off into the future. This is happening right now. This is real, and we are doing this. So let me get to some examples for you. So this is a company that we have. It's called Santa Mar. And Santa Mar operates in Mexico, in La Paz, Mexico. Very hot spot. We are working there, and these guys have been pioneering regenerative aquaculture for years. And we not only want to ensure we do this sustainably, but we really want to do this with no harm to the ocean. And we have 3 species that we farm at Santa Mar. We have Huachinango, which is a red snapper. We have Totuaba, and then we have some oysters that we do as well. And we do all of this with submersible pens, and that is because it is a hot environment. We're working in warm water, and we're pioneering warm water. And what we need to ensure is that we can work within the thermocline because the water gets really warm, and we've got to make sure that we have storms. And so what you're seeing here is a little of that submersibility. Now, this is the star of the show today because this is a Totuaba, and it is endemic to the Gulf of California. It's a little ugly, but let me tell you, this is one of the best fish you will ever eat. But this fish is only able to be eaten because Santa Mar and our company has come in. This fish has been under siege for years. It was almost extinct because of overfishing and illegal trade. And what we've done at Santa Mar is we have created over the last 10 years a restocking program to revitalize this fish in the Gulf of California. So it was nearly extinct. We have put 300,000 juveniles back into the Gulf of California over the last 10 years. And this fish is now swimming beautifully and freely in this space, strengthening, again, communities, building resilience in the Gulf of California. So not only are we doing that, revitalizing, but if we are going to revitalize fish stocks, traceability is an incredibly important thing. And we want to ensure that everything on your plates, and I think you should ensure everything on your plates, you know where that comes from. I'm sure Mark Kaplan's in here saying amen, but you know, effectively, that is a huge component of us revitalizing as well. So the other thing is, it's got to be economically viable to do this. So regenerative aquaculture is economically viable. And when you have shared values, you have shared success. And these are some of the companies that are working with us to do this. I want to talk just a little bit about another company of ours, which is Blue Ocean Mariculture. And this is a company that is in Hawaii. And again, we are working in warm water environments. This is a beautiful Kampachi fish that we have. This is a beautiful picture of our pens. Now, what is really more beautiful is what is happening underneath the water here. If you get out to Hawaii, I welcome you to come and visit us and go for a swim around this. What you will see under here is this area is teeming with wildlife. So much biodiversity happening here. And these farms turn into what we describe as fish aggregating devices. And so we have so much biodiversity being built and developed in these spaces, and we've got the data to back that up. So we take what we do very seriously, and so we are very, very certain to be compliant with all of the regulators. We go beyond what the regulators want, and we are doing this in a way that is doing no harm to this space. We just had a water dilution study completed, and this farm has been around for about 10 years, and the water situation is exactly the same as when we started. So folks, I'm gonna get out of your hair here. What I wanna say is regenerative aquaculture is not simple. There's long regulatory permitting issues. It's difficult to get farms set up from an economic perspective. But what I would say is we have gone and done this at Cuna del Mar. We have pioneered this for the last 15 years. We've made all the mistakes that anyone could make. And what I want to say to this room is, if you are at all interested in going down this road, or you know somebody who's interested in doing aquaculture differently, we want to talk to them, not for our own personal advantage. What we want to do is help people not make the mistakes we've made. And there's so many that we've made. Now, folks, what I'd like to do is have all of you join me. We are looking for opportunities to support others. We are looking for that next generation of entrepreneurs and innovators who are interested in doing things in the ocean space. And I think if we can come together, if we can find those researchers, those policymakers, the innovators, we can take regenerative aquaculture and make it one of the most important revitalizing forces on this planet. So thank you very much for the time today.
Thank you so much. It was a long 5 minutes, Don. Thank you. Before we continue, let me thank a few more of our in-kind partners who have made today's menu possible. The company impossible, American Frozen Food Institute, ConAgra, Baby Bell, Quinn Snacks, and Simply. So next up, we have Galli Mayer, the co-founder and CEO of Buena Vista Specialty Coffee. Give her a round of applause. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Is there like a mic I could just hold, maybe? Just try this. Thank you. I'm Galli Mayer, CEO, co-founder of Buena Vida Specialty Coffee. How many of you drink coffee? Wow, how many drink specialty coffee? That's pretty good. How many drink specialty regenerative certified coffee? Okay. I would want to see everyone raising their hands. And in a minute, we'll tell you why it's so important. So, you know, regenerative specialty coffee is a very small market, unfortunately. Regenerative coffee is a very small market. Most of the coffee in the world is heavily sprayed, and most people don't know where their coffee comes from or anything about the farmers. In average, a farmer gets 5 cents out of a cup of coffee, not even sometimes. And coffee is based on a commodities market that doesn't represent their cost. And that's why we have over 80% of farmers living in the poverty line or below. So we're trying to address that by helping farmers turn more into regenerative agriculture, because healthy soil is healthy you, healthy farmers, healthy community. And to do that, we take them through a journey literally from seed to cup, where we help them in the certification process. We help them with financial restructuring. We help them with markets, communication, highlighting who they are, what they do, and how they do it. Basically, coffee is not coffee. So I really want to find a way, which I haven't found yet, and I would love any ideas later when I step off, of how do you explain to people that 90% of the coffee out there, it's not even coffee, it's burnt beans. And it's low quality burnt beans that keep our farmers in poverty. By 2050, we're gonna have 50% less coffee in the world. And that's due to three main factors. One is there's no generational change, but that's not just coffee. We all know that. It's just agriculture in general. The other main factor is, of course, climate crisis. Most farmers are not ready for a climate crisis, and they're not climate resilient. And to be climate resilient, they have to turn into healthy soil. You have to turn into the principles of regenerative agriculture. I got involved in the documentaries Kiss the Ground, Common Ground, and now in the process of filming Groundswell. And when I got into the documentaries, I was all about organic. I didn't know what does it mean to be regenerative, and start speaking to PhDs in soil and agroforestry, and understood that we are an ecosystem. One cannot exist without the other. And for farmers, their ecosystem is not just the farm. It's also their family, their community, and of course, all of you consumers. And unless we tie it all together and we all work together to fix the issues, we're not going to succeed. There are so many millions of farmers and so many millions of consumers. And on average, a consumer drinks about 3 cups of coffee a day. And if you do the math, 8 ounces times 3, times 365 days out of the year, I'm gonna let you figure out how much agrochemicals people are drinking a year. So I think we need to change that. And we need to change that because everybody really cares about their coffee. And that's what fuels a lot of people. And many people come to me and say, oh my God, I don't drink coffee, you know, the caffeine is bad for me. And I'm like, no, it's not the caffeine. It's the caffeine laced with agrochemicals. If you start drinking clean coffee, if you start really worried about how it's grown, and you start really worrying about the quality of the growing, you will not have those issues. So I encourage everyone to really start digging and figure out where the coffee comes from. Most people that I ask, where is your coffee from? They're like, oh, the roaster down in Brooklyn. No, flash news. Coffee doesn't grow in America. So it's really important that we support those farmers. And, you know, we're working with Kiss the Ground, and they're giving incredible education and scholarships for farmers, because one of the things that really is missing in the space is agronomists on the ground. And I'm not talking about the kind of drug dealers that we have in most of the universe where, you know, if you want agrochemicals, they're in every corner. Almost every little hardware store has agrochemicals. But you're going to find an agronomist in your neighborhood that can teach you nature-based solutions. That's really hard and also very expensive. So we're working with different organizations to really start changing the agronomy school methods and really go to nature-based solutions, because we really have to help the farmers turn more regenerative. And people ask me, do the farmers want to? Is it really hard to convince them? The great news, they're dying to switch the methods. They all want to be regenerative and organic, but it's a journey. Somebody has to take them from conventional to regenerative organic. And there's not if and or. It's a journey, and we all have to be patient with the journey. The most important thing about that is just help them, because right now the farmer bears all the risk. It's the risk of finance, climate, generation, crop, disease, everything you can imagine, and buyer risk. Because guess what? If we're not looking for that product, they're not going to sell it. So I encourage all of you to figure out where your coffee comes from and to help us in that amazing journey to get to regenerative organic at the end of our journey. Thank you.
I'll get it, Gally. It's okay. Thank you. Good. Thank you so much. Keep the applause going. That was great. Thank you. And now I get to welcome Jay McEntire, the CEO of Arva, back to the stage. Please give him a round of applause.
Well, somehow. Okay. I'm going to pick up on that journey story and talk a little bit about our journey on our farm in Arkansas and where that's led to where we are today. So she said one thing that's really critical, right, is in large-scale agriculture, we need support, both policy and in the corporate world, to achieve this journey. And I'm very excited for you all to be able to hear from some of those. It'll be Kellanova and Mars and our friends at Nestle have made a real impact. And I hope that you'll buy Cheez-Its and Nestle Purina dog food and Nestle food, because these are the companies and others that we work with, and Pepsi and others, that are making a material difference. So this idea of regenerative ag, right? Let me get it real for you. Who's been to Home Depot and bought potting soil, right? When you grab that potting soil, it's spongy, it's dark, it's black. On my farm in Arkansas, we didn't grow up in the farming business. My grandfather was in the wholesale grocery business, and I drove around the Mississippi Delta with him in a car that smelled like bubble gum, tobacco, and dust. It's kind of an interesting smell. You have to envision that. But on this farm that we started buying, my grandfather and my brother and my dad, over time, we've been buying farmland for about 35 years because you get some cash return and you can go duck hunting. But then I started looking at this soil and coming back and saying, this is powder. There's nothing here. And the dependence on chemicals and fertilizer, this is just an impossible loop. And we were seeing more and more farmers. We were renting the land to 3 different farmers. We had 8 farmers in 10 years. Bankruptcies, retirement, age. And all of the chemical companies that were advising them were doing the same thing. And I call it, my vernacular is just spreading peanut butter everywhere. And that works because we get low cost. It gives us a piece, but that's not resilient. Now, we talked about organic matter. That 1% increase in organic matter is 20 days of drought tolerance. Now we have something to work with. Now we start to think about how do we engage. Why is that important? That's important to our friends at Nestle and Nestle Purina because they're buying rice. And that's going into the broken rice kernels, by the way. My wife didn't even know this, and we have a rice farm. Oh, I've never seen a broken rice kernel in a bag of rice. Well, they're going into dog food. And so your dogs are benefiting from regenerative rice. The point is that that's such an important concept for us to start thinking about. We need to make sure we have resilience in that supply chain. The farmer economics is part of that resilience. The fact that drought tolerance, we get a lot of hurricanes in Arkansas coming up through Louisiana. Louisiana's our buffer, but we still get them. And that lays down a rice crop. So no farmer, this is not a political debate. Every farmer will agree with you. Number one, weather is more erratic. And the other thing is, I want everybody to walk out of here knowing that every farmer, and you heard every one of these farmers up here, every farmer wants to be more sustainable because that land and their livelihood's dependent on that next year. So where I hope that, you guys start to understand is think about that potting soil, and we want our farmers, that's our resource. And how do we start to optimize the inputs? My talk was supposed to be about AI and agriculture, so I'll give you just a quick view. Danny, does this mean I have 6 minutes? I can't remember. I don't know. I'm gonna keep talking for a minute. Where we started, I started thinking about how do I make this farm more regenerative and more resilient. And so I met my co-founder, Dr. Ben Brown, at a conference, and he was talking about phosphate mobilizing microbes. And he was head of the molecular ecosystem lab at Lawrence Berkeley Labs. in California. And that's part of the DOE's National Lab System. So when I talked to Ben and I heard about what they were trying to do is optimize fertilizer with biologicals. And I said, Ben, quit screwing around in the lab. Let's go do this on 1,000 acres in Arkansas. So we ended up creating a consortium in 2016. AR1K.org is what it was called. And what we did is 1,000 acres in soybeans and corn and rice, looking at biological systems and starting to use AI to try to optimize this system. We got lucky. Nathan Slayton at the University of Arkansas published a paper on phosphate response curves. We happened to come up with the exact same number, so 25 parts per million of phosphate. Adding fertilizer doesn't add value. It creates, so in the water systems, the algae in freshwater comes from phosphate runoff. In the Gulf of Mexico, the dead zone comes from nitrogen runoff. So optimizing these fertilizer to quit us spreading peanut butter everywhere is what's really material. Now we can start to, in this day and age, start to help farmers with systems and ideas about how to optimize their inputs that also create environmental benefits, but also give us what we need from the corporate side is a more sustainable, more low-cost emission, lower footprint. So Vaughn is here with Bartlett Mills, and then we have Kim Sunday with Kellanova. They're going to talk to you about regenerative wheat and actually net negative wheat, meaning that the wheat that we were able to work with these farmers on is actually sequestering carbon beyond the emissions that are going in. So this is a system approach that we need to start thinking holistically about. Some of the research that we're doing that we're going to be publishing later this year is going to be pretty exciting in terms of tying human health with soil health. And we'll see some of the first iterations. This is research that came out of the national labs around COVID's research. So we actually have a paper, and one of our scientists is a lead PI at LBNL on that, and he's going to be publishing a paper to tie soil health with human allergic allergies. So pretty interesting piece. So as we start to think about this, where this goes to policy is how do we change policy to rethink the system? Our system gives us cheap calories, and we export about, used to, 50% of our food, and we don't anymore. And we still have that here, so it's going to be a devastating year for farmers. Let's rethink the system, and that's what I want you guys to take away with today.
Woo! Keep up the applause for Jay. Thank you so much. That was great. While we're waiting, I want to thank a few more in-kind partners: Wild About Sprouts, Lumberg Family Farms, Certified Origins, and Farmers Bridge. Now we're going to have a conversation about the work happening across sectors to scale regenerative solutions. I'd like to introduce Michael Benedetti, the Vice President of Quality, Regulatory, and Sustainability at Clover Sonoma. Round of applause. Evan Brazier is the Director of the Arrell Food Institute at the University of Guelph. Matthew Dillon is the co-CEO of the Organic Trade Association. Round of applause. And Alexia Akbay is the CEO and founder of Symbrosia. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. Look at all these folks. Matthew Dillon.
Hi,
I'm going to
Danny.
start with you.
Oh, great.
Organic certification has played such an important and early role in thinking about how we manage production and ag production in a more sustainable way. Can you talk about how we've seen organic certification grow and what that's meant for farmers?
Yeah, I mean, I grew my first organic crop in 1983. I was a conventional farm kid in Nebraska, grew a crop in 83. And when I look back on how organic looked in 83 compared to today, it is night and day. It's become a $71 billion industry in the US alone. And what I think I'm inspired by with organic is that it has been the platform that's allowed us now to have greater conversations about regenerative and regenerative organic. It created interest in consumers, in retailers, in policymakers to think about an alternative food system and think about the market pull-through, what it would take to actually reward the supply chain actors, especially the farmers, in creating that. And that's what gets me excited. However, organic can't just rest on everything great it's done. We have to keep evolving the standards to meet consumer demand, to have more impact measurements, and to make sure we're evolving with the best science that we have available.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought up science. You can clap. Everyone should clap for Matthew Dillon every day. Because that leads me to my next question, Alexia. You know, we're in weird times. I've said it all week. Politically turbulent, scary, a little bit dark. When there's so much pressure to scale back climate smart solutions by the federal government, how do you see certification sort of withstanding that onslaught?
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing to me about the organic certification and methodologies when we incorporated it into our seaweed farm to then provide seaweed for organic producers, livestock producers, was that the outcomes are actually significantly better. When we transitioned our seaweed farm from conventional inputs to organic inputs, we increased our yields by 80%. And then when we take that seaweed product into the livestock system, with the livestock producers are seeing average daily gains of 22% plus increase day over day. And so it really just shows how a holistic plant matrix and being true to non-GMO, non-synthetics can really actually promote better agricultural outcomes and resiliency at the same time. So it's kind of a no-brainer when you're looking at the balance sheet, and that's really what we communicate. And we try to do that in interesting ways so that we're reaching folks from all different backgrounds and production systems.
Great, thank you so much. Evan, if I can turn to you. Matthew talked a lot about innovation, and I'm hoping you can talk about the role that innovation and technology and different practices are playing in building more resilient supply chains.
Love it. So 2 quick anecdotes, 3 punchlines. Anecdote 1, farmer friend of mine was at an event like this one. He shoved his phone in my face and said, "Look at this," and started tabbing through all the data. And he very quickly convinced me that, and this is a guy that farms 30,000 acres of land in the Canadian prairies, so one of the biggest farmers in the world in all of history. Tabbing through the data, yields are up, inputs are down, soil organic matter is higher. Investments in technology have allowed him to do that. Anecdote 2, one of Canada's first certified regenerative organic farms, about 3 hectares of land, does vegetables and things like that, investing in drones and soil probes. Their yields are up. Their organic matter is heavier, and their inputs are down. So the 3 punchlines. Punchline 1, it's a journey. Regenerative is a journey that any farmer at any point can embark on, and it can be enabled through innovations in technology. Point 2, both Brent and Gil, the small-scale farmers, and Christian, the large-scale farmer, will say to you, we don't understand enough about the soil organic matter to really understand that if we lock it up, and you and I were talking about this just a few minutes ago, if we lock it up, is it going to stay there forever? So we need innovation and science to help uncover those things. And the 3rd punchline, which I've saved for last, both of those farmers have experienced bad droughts in the last 18 months. I have called both of them up at the end of their growing season and said, how's it going? And both of them have been optimistic. Evan, yields are great. And I said, well, that's not what I expected. Both Brent and Christian said that. And then I said, well, what about the farmers in your neighborhood? Oh, they're screwed.
Exactly.
They're screwed. They don't have the soil organic matter. They're screwed.
Yeah. Evan Fraser, always a treat. Thank you so much. Give him a round of applause. Michael, building on what Evan said about innovation and technology, I wonder what you're seeing, what farmers are embracing in the dairy sector.
Yeah. So Clover, we're a small dairy company in Northern California. We have a very funny or cute cartoon mascot. She makes a lot of puns on billboards. Our current favorite is Make Life Butter. And it's our philosophy about, and we've got 75 years of eye rolls on our billboard puns. But it really is the philosophy about how does your business make life better, make life more full of nutrition. One of the things as we continue on our regenerative journey with our organic dairy farms that we contract with, when we go out and ask them, hey, what about this practice? This is regenerative. And they're like, yeah, I've been doing that for 50 years. And so it's identifying where they can make improvements, helping them get access to technology or grants to fund it. One of the stories that one of our dairy farms tells us is when they shifted to no-till planting for their silage fields. And he said, my dad used to be on a tractor for 3 weeks tilling all of those fields and then retilling because you had to get pure dirt no plants on that field. And we switched to a no-till planter, and we were on the tractor for 2.5 days. And so huge time savings, huge yield savings, because there was more plant material for our animals to eat or for our silage to harvest.
Sure.
And then we went in with 3 other dairy farms, because you don't need these tillers every single day. So I could use it, my neighbor could use it, and then it would drive a mile down the road or 5 miles down the road, and our other 2 neighbors could use it. It would stay at their house until the next planting season. And then they would use it, and then it would drive back to our house. And so finding ways to connect people just in really simple ways to make these ideas and technologies something that they can use and that can help grow their farms.
It's astounding. It creates so much community, so much knowledge sharing, and I think that's what's so exciting to me. Matthew, Michael mentioned, the organic journey. And what I fear when we talk about regenerative and organic in the same conversations is that we're going to pit them against each other. How do we not do that?
Yeah, it's a challenge. I think, listen, when my dad was farming, he thought he could farm better than his dad. And when I started getting into farming, I was damn sure I could farm better than my dad. And so you have generational changes, and it's good to challenge. At the same time, we're all in this together. At Organic Trade Association, we welcome conventional farmers getting involved in regenerative and learning regenerative practices. It's all hands on deck for our planet. If some of them decide to come into organic, an established $70+ billion market, wonderful. We will welcome them there. If they have their own markets, great. A little competition is good. So it's one part collaboration, one part competition. And I think that's what makes us better in general as people, right? We all have a little bit of a competitive gene. It's an evolutionary trait to survive and get a mate. Yeah, some more than others. But we should also have a collaborative community building gene. It's yes and. And that's really how I see it. I think organic will be stronger because of the regenerative movement. Some in organic sometimes get afraid. I love it. I welcome it.
Yeah, you really do. And thank you. I'm so glad you're leading OTA in such a great direction. Thank you for that work. Matthew, I'm going to change it for a second. We just talked about the importance of building community. And so I'm wondering if you all can talk about the partnerships and relationships, because this is what it's really about, relationships you're building to further all of your own work. Alexia, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I guess I mentioned we switched to organic production, and that was really because of shout out to Organic Valley for showing initial interest in these sorts of products. So we see that organic producers or those that have these value produced programs are often the ones that are measuring already their impact and looking for practices. And so they're usually at the forefront and the early adopters in this space. So we're very grateful to the organic sector for pushing us to change into organic production and then continuing to help us with financial assistance to do our FDA trials to get this product approved. And then on top of that, the Organic Trade Alliance has been a steadfast advocate for organic producers throughout this administration as well. They've gone really to the front lines to get all of our grants unfrozen and to continue to ensure that organic production is prioritized in this administration. And so thank you for that. But we are all working together, and even if we're not directly really exchanging resources, it's very clear that there is a core group that is pushing the frontier together, and that we're all in this. Yeah.
Fantastic. Matthew, do you want to go next?
I would just say that, we're everything, the trade association's everything from seed to retail. And so getting produce farmers to agree on what's a priority with dairy farmers or with fiber farmers is a challenge. And it's in that challenge and in those tensions that collaboration often creates something that is monumental and movement-based. And this is where you're going to hear competition in this regenerative climate change space with folks. Keep figuring out that sweet spot of how we can work together. And that's also part of what we're trying to do on the Hill in Congress. And last week, I was at an event with a Republican rural congressman and an urban progressive Democrat and congresswoman, and they were talking about how much they agree on and also that they still disagree on a lot. They're working on SNAP, they're working on organic. We can be a country that collaborates, isn't just in attack mode all the time.
Right on. Thank you. Evan, on the academic side, I know you're all about collaboration and partnerships.
Yeah, let me take us to a different time and place. A year ago, I was leading a project in Africa on building more resilient food systems. And I was in Sierra Leone, and my host took me to 2 different fish fish processing plants. And one was the result of a massive 10 million euro investment, and it was a huge facility behind a wall, and we showed up and it was empty. It was completely unused. The other one probably cost $50, and it was a few little fires with some racks on top of it behind some cinder blocks. And it was hopping, even on a Sunday afternoon. It was drying fish. Fish was coming in, fish was being dried, fish was going out. And I mean, there's 2 points here. One, the collaborations that were needed to create the successful project, as opposed to the one that was dumped in, required, my main point, the community to buy in.
Right.
It was a community collaboration to solve a local problem. And the big one was just out of scale. It was just out of scale with what the community needed. The little one served a need. It gave fishers an opportunity to extend the shelf life and the value of their catch. And so that's the message that I would like to leave on the collaboration. The solutions, the innovations have to be embedded in the challenges of the community, at which point they don't have to be high-tech and fancy. They might be very pedestrian. But if they're serving the needs of the community and built collaboratively, then they'll be durable.
Absolutely. Michael, I saw you nodding as Evan was talking. You know, the innovations have to fit the needs of the community, and I know you know that, in dairy very well.
Yeah, some of the things where we play a useful role, I always highlight how difficult it is to be a farmer, because you are not only working the land at all hours and all days of the week, you have to be your own bookkeeper, your own HR person, your own finance director, your own
communication director.
So the amount of roles that a farm has to play is monumental. So where we can, as a hub, help share information between farmers, between dairymen, but also access all of the amazing work that's being done at the local universities. So we have UC Davis near us. We have a whole bunch of great state universities, a bunch of partnerships where if they're out on one dairy because they've made a connection and they're trialing biochar and compost applications and seeing success, how do we either connect them with more dairies to do additional trials or get that information spread to other folks? And then also the advocates. So CalCan is a California Climate and Agriculture Network that is lobbying for things that are going to help medium-sized and small-sized farms in California. And they're doing work where they're bringing legislators out to dairy farms to say, come and see this. Come and see what they're doing here. Come and see these things that they're implementing. Come and see what your state dollars are funding and the impacts it's having on these farms. So those state funds that you approved, they have purchased this separator that's separating manure into solids and liquids, and this is now compost, and this is being applied here and here. So that ability to spread those networks and connections to let people have access to more of that information is really powerful.
Absolutely, so powerful. I want to end on a question for you all. Matthew was talking about the need for us to come together and, across the aisle, come up with these solutions that will benefit everyone, whether we're in Canada or the United States, Evan. But I wonder what messages you all find that are most effective. Is it talking about climate? Is it talking about the economic case? What really reaches eaters the best? Alexia, go first.
I think one of the talking points that we're really trying to mature in the field is just that these practices are the best succession plan for farmers. We know that we need younger generations taking over these operations, that those that have been doing this work for a while are phasing out. But implementing practices like feeding seaweed to your cows or becoming regenerative certified can really incentivize a buyer to come in and feel like maybe they do want to take over daddy's ranch and they're not fleeing to the city to do something else. So I think we really need to wrap our heads around meeting the pain points of the existing industry, which this seems like a huge one and a potential problem for all of us in the next in the couple of decades. But I think that's been one of the interesting ones for us recently.
Fantastic. Matthew?
You have to be polylingual to get to the consumer, to get to the citizen. We do a ton of consumer research around the globe, and what we find is there are, of course, folks, mostly younger generation, that want to get into the weeds, want to get into the details. They're very aspirational in why they're making decisions at the grocery store. They're thinking about the we, not just the me. Yes, they care about what's good for them, but they're thinking about the well-being of farm workers and really of future generations even. And you have other consumers that are just feeling overwhelmed by the moment. And you have to make it simple. We have a new campaign out called The Seal Makes It Simple. We're trying to get to those folks who do feel overwhelmed. to calm the anxiety, give them some information about organic, and give them some simple choice, knowing that that's the first step to getting to more nuance and to
Right.
more detail. And so if you as an organization or a business can't be polylingual, you're going to miss important segments of what is becoming a more fragmented consumer mindset when it
Yeah.
comes to what people are concerned about and what they want to learn.
I love it, polylingual. Evan.
So Danny, about this time last year, I was moderating a panel, much like this one, in Ottawa. And the title of the panel was like Biotechnology and Biosecurity for Sustainable Foods. I know, blah, 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 blah,
Sure,
blah.
sure.
And it was a great it was a great panel and had a great audience. And at the end of it, a gentleman stood up at the microphone, and I recognized him as Mr. Preston Manning, a right-wing populist politician who's now in his 80s, so has been out of public life. And I've known Mr. Manning for quite a few years, decades, and he sort of said, Evan, I love your message, but you're not communicating right. Cheaper food, better jobs, cleaner environment, stronger farms. Solve the problems people care about. Sure. And don't talk to me about blah, 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 blah. So he was calling me out in a rather public environment, but Mr. Manning was right. I mean, I don't agree with his politics, but I agree with his communication style.
Yeah.
So I have said to my staff, let's apply the Mr. Manning test. Are we solving problems people care about?
Right.
And if the answer to that is yes, then we'll make movement forward.
Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah. So, but that's a little. I'm going to push back.
That's pretty smart.
Like, solve the problems people care about was what Mr. Manning said to me, and that's what I'm holding in.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Love it.
Michael, you get the last
It
word.
was a bit cringeworthy at the moment, though. I'm going to be. Sorry, Mike.
No. I guess the only message I have is that making food is hard and making food is magical. It's one of the things that all humans, we all share moments where we're around a table enjoying something delicious. And so the privilege to be able to work the ground, keep it more healthy and nutritious, and bring an amazing food product to all of us in our communities, it's a powerful privilege. And this room and the people watching online, I think, are less of the audience. It's because you're here because you care about the way food is made and the way we're going to go forward. So to me, it's how do you take that passion and spread it more broadly so that we as a broader community have that care and passion and value food in that way, because none of this stuff is free. It all takes hard work. So I appreciate everybody here for showing up and caring, and that's an amazing thing. So just thank you for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. Making food is magical and a privilege. Thank you, Michael. Give all of the panelists a round of applause. Thank you all so much. Keep the round of applause going. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. In our next conversation, we're going to talk about building more regenerative supply chains. I'd like to introduce Vaughn Duitsman, the Vice President of Sustainability for Bartlett. Kimberley Sundy is the Senior Director of Global Sustainability at Kellanova. And Stephen Jennings leads health partnerships and stakeholder engagement for health and sustainability at Ahold Delhaize USA. Give them a round of applause. Nice to see you all.
Hello, hello.
Happy Climate Week. We're here. We're at the end on Friday. So I just want to dig right in and start with you, Stephen. Ahold Delhaize USA has been working to integrate more regeneratively grown foods into your stores. And I'm wondering if you can talk about that and why, as somebody who cares so much about health.
Yeah, for sure. Hi, everyone. For those that don't know our footprint, we're the largest East Coast grocery retail group, stretching from Maine to Georgia. I heard a couple of our companies evoked in previous conversations. So like Food Lion, Giant Food, Giant Company, Stop and Shop, and Hannaford Markets. And one of the things that, of many in the health and sustainability space, that we're really, I guess tackling might be a strong word, but working on building an approach and an ambassadorship with our customers and our CPG partners and local farmers is health. And we call it our health approach. And part of health, as we all know, we've heard many times over here with previous panels, it's got to start in the soil, right?
Absolutely.
So building that. However, we don't grow anything. So like how much, we really can't talk too much about soil health other than all the work that we do globally, but the experts on stage here is why it's so important to have partnerships
Right.
and bring products that our customers know and love today in a better way. And that's where, of course, my partners here will talk about that.
Excellent. Thank you, Stephen. So Vaughn and Kim, can you talk about the partnership, the collaboration that you've started with your both of your companies?
Sure. I mean, one of the things I'm really proud of is the fact that we've been able to partner with people across the supply chain. So Vaughn is here representing Bartlett. And so when you think about a product that's regenerative, Cheez-It might not necessarily be the food that immediately comes to mind. I mean, how many of you in the audience would have raised your hand and said, Cheez-It is a regenerative food? Maybe a couple of the people who actually work on this project with us. But what I would say is North Carolina is such an important part of our story with that food, because all of the wheat that is, really goes into the food that's baked at our Cary manufacturing facility in North Carolina is grown in North Carolina. Then it goes to Vaughn's mill, and they mill it in North Carolina, just down the road. And then we bake that food in Cary, North Carolina. So it has a very small footprint. But in addition to having a very small footprint, it's also, we're actually regenerative practices. So we're incenting farmers, giving them, resources and dollars and technical assistance to make sure that as they're growing that wheat, they also have the tools to do so. And maybe you'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, so for Bartlett, we're a 120-year-old agribusiness company.
You can move it. There you go. If you just pull it towards you, it's great.
120-year-old agribusiness company. And so we've been involved in regenerative ag for over 10 years now. And when we started, it was to set out to de-risk supply chains. Right. We want to buy from the growers that we've been buying from for generations for the next 100 years. We want our business to be successful for the next 100 years, and our customers' businesses as well.
Sure.
And so, as it's been said, it starts in the soil. We have, as I mentioned, generational relationships with these growers, so it's very important for us to build these relationships with them and help them succeed.
Absolutely.
In their business.
Absolutely. You and Kim have been working on something around chicken litter as well, though, right?
We have been. I think, North Carolina, there's a lot of chicken production. And so this program is unique. It's the only program in our portfolio of about 20 to 25 programs where chicken litter is widely used as a fertilizer source. And so growers are buying that chicken litter from local chicken barns and then using that to fertilize their fields. It's very economical for them to do that compared to synthetic fertilizer, especially this year when fertilizer prices are at all-time highs. But we need to better understand the actual NP and K makeup within that chicken litter, and we're going through testing right now to do that.
Exciting stuff, right? I
mean, and it's important because farmers are trying to really pencil out how they can be profitable. And so when we're able to not only work with the farmer, help them adopt more regenerative practices, but then save money, I think that's one of the things that we want to help do. I mean, help isn't always helpful, right? So we want to make sure that we're helping them really economically as well.
Absolutely. Kim, do you want to talk more about your relationship with Ahold Delhaize?
Sure, Stephen. I think one of the things that's really terrific about this Cheez-It initiative is that when you think about where your food comes from, making sure that you're working with partners who are going to really help co-invest in solutions is a really big part of our journey. And so Bartlett is helping to fund some of the work that we're doing with farmers, as is Ahold Delhaize. And so when you think about the opportunity to not only help farmers, but also make sure that in these really difficult economic times when a lot of the farmers that we're talking to and speaking with are telling us, they are trying to pencil out the best possible outcomes. And they're thinking about, will the people who are farming down the road be here next year to farm with me? I think it's really important that we not only come here as big companies with commitments, but we also talk about making financial commitments to support the outcomes that we want to see. And so I don't know if you'd like to talk a little bit about the work you guys are doing in store to make these things come to life. But, for people who are visiting maybe a Food Lion in June, I think Food Line did a terrific job of really having, whole displays in the store that talked about this effort and, supporting U.S. farmers, which is so important.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about the challenge first. And the challenge is, one, education and awareness around what regenerative is. We heard that a little bit earlier today, right? And, we could walk into any one of our stores and ask an associate or a customer. We might get 1,000 different answers. It's just like the word sustainability. It's defined differently by everybody, right? So what's unique and special about this is it's using the scale of a well-known product that everyone loves, well, generally, right? I love Cheez-Its. So they're actually good at meatloaf too, by the way, just so you know. Little cooking tip there. So in order to drive behavior change and scale, you have to do it with a well-known product. Even if someone's buying it and not even knowing why or the impact they have buying it, but it's their purchase power, right? That helped drive scale as well. But I used this example on a panel earlier this week. It's if we put Stevens crackers on the top shelf in a store and I might drive 100 units a week, maybe, if I'm lucky, right? That's not driving scale. And I'm probably going to be out of business pretty quick because the store is not going to be happy with the movement of the product. But when you have products selling thousands and thousands a week in all of our stores, that helps build the momentum on, okay, what else can we do with this? And not only how much more products can we partner with Kellanova and Bartlett with on, but where else could we do this in the store? That's what we're excited about. It's driving scalable change, behavior change, and purchase behavior from our customers, because that ultimately is what helps all of us.
Yeah, and I think, you've all sort of touched on this. It's about the story, how you tell the story to the eaters. And the Cheez-It example is a great one, but Vaughn, I'd love to hear from you. Like, how do you get that message across to folks that, this is the right thing to do, this is the economically sustainable thing to do?
Yeah, for the grower, you have to show that economic benefit.
Yeah,
Otherwise, they're not going to scale and continue to participate. Luckily, we have a lot of data points that support that, right? And just as I mentioned with chicken litter, at a minimum is at today's economics roughly $60 per acre cheaper than synthetic fertilizer in North Carolina.
It's amazing.
That could be their whole margin.
Right.
For a year. So from the grower perspective, again, all about the economics. There's clearly agronomic benefits that they will realize. It does take a couple of years for those to show fruit.
Sure.
But the growers that we have in our programs are very, very committed. They understand it. And clearly having good partners like Kellanova and Ahold is important as well.
Well, and those producers know that you're a company that's been around a long time. You'll likely be around a long time.
Yep. So we actually, probably 4 to 5 years ago, we changed the strategy of our sustainability team. And so our team is made up of conservation specialists. They're all certified crop advisors. So we are able to offer that technical assistance to the growers in-house. They talk to us about selling their wheat. They talk to Bartlett about these regenerative programs. And so that provides a very high comfort level for them. And also is very beneficial to retention within these programs as well, which is important.
Absolutely. Kim?
Yes, ma'am.
Communicating to your customers, to how do you tell the story?
I mean, I think what's really important is making sure that we speak to people in a language that they understand, which to me is where the grocer comes in. When we can say we're supporting U.S. farmers, people care about where their food comes from. When we can talk about working with growers who have been in business for generations through Bartlett and really get people excited about the fact that North Carolina is a character in the story of the food, people get excited.
Sure.
Right? So I think it's how can we talk about these things in really everyday language, but also making sure that we have the chops on the back end so that we're working with growers, we're providing technical assistance. We've got a terrific team back at the ranch at Kellanova who are really making sure that we have the environmental and sustainability credentials. We're thinking about monitoring. Continuous improvement is always a really important part of our sustainability strategy at Kellanova, making sure that we're continuing to support farmers and get, think about the yields that they're delivering on our behalf.
Yeah.
Always important.
Yeah, it's what Matthew said earlier about being polylingual. You have to really have that Stephen, any other thoughts on that storytelling?
Well, I'm just gonna keep it real. It's kind of where we suck. We could be doing so much more. This is where I usually get in trouble. So anybody at work that's watching me, I'll probably have 10 emails right now. But we could do a much better job. We're excellent at putting out a press release. We're great at that. We tend to have some opportunity with follow through to sustain the education and awareness. And really one of our biggest opportunities, and I promise there's good things too, but one of our biggest opportunities is with our own associates. So we have 200,000 associates just in the US. And just think that's 200,000 ambassadors right now that could be talking about all of this on behalf of all of us. And it's really where we have opportunity to tap for sure and to help educate those customers when they're in-house. So the biggest win is the local angle for sure, with the North Carolinian farmers. That's always a great story, and that always gets the local stores excited, especially when it's a farmer in their community. So we celebrate those all the time, but on a broader scale from communication, we definitely could do better.
Well, my last question for all of you, and so I'll start with you first, is like, what advice do you have for other companies? I sort of suspect what advice you have for other companies.
Well, so that's a big one for sure, and we're trying to heed our own advice.
Yeah.
But it's really about these partnerships. So like one thing that we've been clear in our own health and sustainability strategy over the last 5+ years is that we need to stay in our lane and not be something that we're not. And this is when we find fantastic people like the folks on stage here that when we can collaborate together, that's when we can bring real world scalable solutions to life. And I'm as someone that's been around a long time, so this is my 29th year with our company. I started as a bagger in our stores, and I've seen a variety of things this year, and I probably say this every year, but has me the most excited because of these types of partnerships.
Oh, that's great.
Because at the end of the day, we all really probably have similar or the same goals, but because we silo ourselves and don't talk out loud about them, but now that we are, this is the beauty that you see on stage here. So thank you.
Kim, advice?
For me, I think it is, I feel like regeneration is our responsibility, right? You know, you think about farmers, they only have the average farmer has like 30 harvests. And you've been in business, 29 years now with Ahold. I'm going on 8 years with Kellanova. I think that this is our legacy. And, you know, pre-competitively, I think we're doing a much better job of partnering with people who are our peers. And I think that's probably the thing that I'm the most proud of. So I guess if I were going to give anyone advice or maybe a call to action for me is call Kellanova, call us. We want to partner with you. I think pre-competitively and as legally as humanly possible. Now I'm about to get in trouble, but we do want to partner because a lot of us share supply sheds. There's a lot of opportunity for us to think about how we can collaborate and really help farmers because they are struggling. They are the people who are producing the foods that we eat. And I think, you know, for me personally, I really want to make sure that the ingredients that are used to make our foods are going to be around for generations to come.
Thank you, Vaughn.
Very similar to Stephen, define the supply chain. It's extremely hard to do this alone.
Absolutely. So. Great point to end on. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I am so excited for our next conversation where I have the chance to speak with actor and producer David Moscow, who's behind the incredible series From Scratch. While David comes up to the stage and settles in, let me thank a few more of our in-kind partners, Oatly, The Good Smart Hay, Climate Candy, Kerry Dairy Ireland, and Bobolink. Give David a round of applause. So excited to see you again.
It's good to see you again.
It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
A lot
was a
happened.
Pandemic.
I know, a whole bunch of things. I saw him 2 months before the pandemic, so.
That was season 1, and I was a wide-eyed, naive, soon-to-be farmer, and here I am. You know,
here you are.
Yeah,
congratulations.
6 seasons later.
It's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We're going to share some clips from your series From Scratch today. Before you cue up the first one, let's talk a little bit about the inspiration behind the show first.
Yeah. Well, I'll just give you an explanation of what we do on the show. We will meet with a chef, and that could be a high-end restaurant or a food truck, home cook. They'll make me a meal, and then I'll talk with them about all the ingredients. And I have a week to go out and harvest everything and bring it back. Try to harvest everything and bring it back. So that's foraging and farming and fishing and sometimes hunting. And then sometimes I'm successful,
Yeah.
you know, and sometimes, you know, they wanted a trout and I bring back a butternut squash. And I'm like, go with this, chef. But what it really is it's this adventurous way to take deep dives into how food gets to our plate. And I basically get to put microphones in front of experts, farmers and professors, fishermen, fisherwomen, and it's a really neat, we call it hiding the medicine in the ice cream.
Yeah.
Because you come into it thinking it's like this adventurous food show, and then you walk away with, you know, discussions about the politics around farming, the economics around farming, the future of food. So, yeah, and then I was really affected. When we started it,
Yeah.
it was about connecting humanity, because we've been going through some wild times the last few years,
Mm-hmm.
and we really thought that the way that you could connect people was through shared meals, right? It's hard to get mad at people who make you tacos and margaritas, right? And so let's talk about that, and let's go down and work with subsistence farmers in Mexico who are harvesting corn and making masa, and then what started happening along the way is it was not only about people. I mean, when you eat a slice of pizza and you realize it took 68 people to make that pizza, you realize you're not by yourself, and you can't, it's undeniable.
Right.
But you also start to see how connected food is to the planet. And farmers constantly, you get in there with them and you start asking questions, and then they basically drop knowledge on you all the time. And you learn all these wonderful things that are happening, but also the things that are scaring them.
Yeah.
And so that's some of what we're going to see in this in the clips that we are seeing today. I think we're
Yeah.
doing Bermuda and Kenya.
Yeah. Before we get to Bermuda, you have some exciting news, I think, about the next season, yeah?
Yeah. So we just got picked up by Peacock. So all of our library and season 6 and beyond will be on Peacock. And Q4 at some point, which is now. And it's really neat. And it's a much bigger audience. 90 million on Peacock. We're also on Samsung Plus, which is another 90 million. And I think it's a sneaky way to get people to learn about this stuff.
You're with all my favorite Bravo shows. All right, let's cue up this next clip, this first clip about Bermuda. Is there any context you want to share before we play it?
Yeah, we were making, so Bermuda was a neat episode. It was an invasive fish, lionfish, ceviche, and then we were also harvesting for a salad and lobster along the way. And this farmer, Greg, was a chef before he became a farmer, and he really is a professor. Like, it was like mind-blowing what he taught me there.
Nice. Can we play the clip?
I'm off to visit Greg Wilson at Food Forest Farm to get my avocado, plantains, tomatoes, and sugar snaps. I've heard a lot about Greg and about Food Forest Farm, whose motto is, sustainability starts in the soil. It's an organic market garden that grows crops in a way that doesn't produce any waste. The farm's goals are to produce a healthy lifestyle by using food as medicine and to promote organic farming through producing and selling organic compost.
Hello.
Hey, David, welcome.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Welcome to Food Forest.
Glad to be here. Thank you for having us.
So this is Food Forest. This is our permaculture system.
What does permaculture mean?
Permanent culturing. Everything is regenerative. We have permanent systems in place like mature fruit trees. We trim the hedges, mow the lawns. We collect all of the debris and we pile them up. And over a period of time, they break down into this beautiful compost. This is organic matter. And we add it to our soils. We do not use any pesticides, herbicides, or fungicides. We concentrate on building an ecosystem. This is compost right on top. See the life in it?
Oh my gosh.
There's earthworms, churchworms, roly-polies, these all kinds of life.
Oh, look at that.
What happens is the bacteria and fungi in compost, they want to stick close to the root. So these leaves absorb elemental gases, nitrogen, hydrogen,
carbon dioxide, and it converts it into glucose or sugar. This sugar is like candy to bacteria and fungi, so they consume it. And in order for them to stick close to the root, they produce this enzyme. It's like a glue, but that glue causes those clay particles now to ball up and creates soil structure. So it's a symbiotic relationship. So when you...
That was the most succinct science lesson.
This little small 2-acre property can produce over 30,000 pounds a year of fruits and vegetables. This is called a market garden. Traditional farming techniques, you'll see 10 acres of corn, and that's a monocropping. But here, we want the diversity, so we have over 45 different species of plants and fruits.
Look at how gorgeous your produce is.
Thank you. This is fresh arugula. I mean, look at the quality of that.
It's incredible. Where are the bugs? Why are there no holes in this?
A healthy plant will not be attacked by bugs. Just like a healthy body, if your body's healthy, it fights off diseases. It's a living organism. Delicious, huh?
It is awesome. Nice and peppery.
Yes, these are sugar snap peas.
Sugar snaps for chef. Boom.
This is our greenhouse. We start all of our seeds from scratch here. These tomatoes, purple Cherokee they're called. They're just blushing now. Now that will be ripe in about 3 days. Purple Cherokee, the flesh is reddish purple. One of the best tomatoes you'll ever taste.
Well, I'm excited. Look at that pretty, pretty tomato. My gosh. Have you always been a farmer?
I'm a chef by trade. I had a restaurant for many years, but I grew up farming. My father was a farmer. My great-grandfather was a local farmer here over 100 years ago. He had a very successful farming business in Somerset. My passion, being in the restaurant business, 95% of our food is imported. The spoilage was tremendous. I would throw 20% away.
Oh my God.
If it came from the United States, it's a week trip across and then another week trip here. So it's 2 weeks old by the time we get it.
Wow.
So we have it for 2 or 3 days and that's it. As a chef, I know what chefs like. I decided to produce this for them. And they're responding tremendously.
Working.
Yes.
That's
definitely.
amazing.
So here's our plantains. You see them starting to come now. This is a new flower.
Do I take down the whole tree?
Yes, we're gonna take down the whole tree. There we go.
Boom! Awesome! Now that was fun.
These are Poboro. That's the variety. They are considered to be the original.
Incredible. The Boro banana.
Now we're gonna go get avocado. Okay, so this avocado tree has been here about 100 years. And up there are avocados somewhere.
There are somewhere?
Can you see them? There's a couple of them there, but they're up high.
Oh, there's one right there, but I'm never getting that one.
Why not? You're gonna have to climb up right there.
I should have started this show when I was 20, not 45. Okay. All right, let's see.
That's the one. Can you reach that?
I think so. Just barely. Come on.
Did I get the step ladder?
No, we're gonna do it. I'm up a little higher.
Once you hook it over, twist it. You can get those hooks over the top of it. Ooh, almost.
Let me get it right to the end.
There it is.
Come on.
Hook it around, David.
It's so close. Okay, here we go. Come on.
There you go.
Oh my God. Amazing. Look at this pretty thing.
Yeah.
Now how do I get down? Okay. All right, David. All right. If my 10-year-old self could see me now, he'd be saying, "You're living the life, David." Wah!
Thank you.
Thank you. My director is right back here. Andreas, you want to give a? This is my director.
Woo!
It's been fun. We traveled around the world together the last 3 years.
That's great.
And I think it's as fun for them as for the crew as it is for me.
Absolutely. You mentioned that, the chef and farmer, he is, very professorial, but like you learn so much in this joyous way from him. And I think that's really what's so special.
Yeah, I think that there's like a way to, I imagine if I were to walk into a supermarket and be like blown away by what's in here. Like if you can walk into a supermarket and be like, oh my gosh, look at all this fruit, look at all these vegetables. And yet I actually get to go to the source of it too and do that. And I feel like I'm a rabbit the whole time. I'm like pulling things and eating and grazing as we go through. And then they hand me things to try. That's another thing about food producers is they're super giving all the time. We walk out of there with like baskets of food. And yeah, they're lovely people always.
Always, yeah. I want to make sure we get to the next clip. It's Kenya, I believe, right?
Yeah, agroforestry there. So Kenya's they cut down a lot of their trees after the transition, and they're trying to get it back up from 7% to 10%. So they are they're helping farmers start doing agroforestry around the forests, around the parks. And so we were making a meal with the Maasai across the Mara, but we had to stop here first to get some barley and some khat and which is a crazy drug, and some sugar and
also a crazy drug.
Also a crazy drug, exactly. They put them together. So yeah, they're doing some amazing stuff in Kenya.
Thank you. Can you play the clip?
We're headed to the first farm, northeast of Nairobi. We have liftoff. Before heading into the Mara, we need to stop at Tamun Farm. That's a lawn. We're landing on a lawn. So I'm here to meet Sven, who runs this regenerative farm out here. I gotta grab a whole bunch of vegetables. It's pretty gorgeous. It's all agricultural land here.
David,
what's going on,
how you doing, sir?
Nice to meet you, Sven, right?
You too. Welcome to paradise.
Hello.
Hi, David.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So I just need a little barley for chef for this goat barley stew.
Each different plot has a different variety of barley that we are testing for potential scaling up across the farm.
I've never seen barley.
Yeah.
And here it is.
You can eat it.
You can eat it, but it's not particularly great.
It's not that.
Agroforestry is a combination of forestry and agriculture. It's the integration of trees, crops, and/or livestock on the same plot of land. It has the potential to fight climate change by sequestering carbon and reducing greenhouse emissions.
Actually got James, our farm manager here. He's actually going to run you through the artichokes.
Hello, James.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Nice to meet you. Is this what we're going to cut?
Let's select the best.
Okay.
So just hold it, and then there you go.
All right. Ooh. I've never been in a place that's doing canopy and cover crop and then garden underneath.
Sure.
Like, wow.
Thanks.
Ridiculously cool. James, what is this tree?
It's an indigenous tree found in Kenya. It's called Prunus africana. And like from a tribe, we use it to treat prostate cancer. So the leaves, the bark, and the roots are all medicinal.
Prostate?
Yeah.
Wow.
Should we grab some rainbow kales?
We need this right here. So we have our rainbow chard, we have our artichokes, we have our regular kale. And I have a new appreciation for agroforestry.
Round of applause.
Yeah.
Agroforestry is really cool.
Oh my God. So there's a lot of illegal timber going on in Kenya, and they're growing ebony, they're growing African juniper, they're growing, that's how they started. The first 2 years were planting trees, and then, and then they had alley cropping and then a bunch of great produce underneath.
Yeah. David, you and I both get to have this unique opportunity to visit farmers on the ground. And, I think there are lots of misconceptions about farmers in general, but especially farmers in sub-Saharan Africa. And I wonder if you can share, what you have learned from farmers there.
Oh, wow. Well, I want to say, in general, just going, it's very easy to get angry at a lot of the stuff that's going on. But it's wonderful to meet with farmers, particularly regenerative farmers, and that was what was happening there, because you're learning there's hope there, and there's a path. Like everyone's always looking for like, well, what can I do? What can I do? Well, this is a path, and this is good.
Yeah.
And they are a force for good. So there's, I think, a group, a collective of intentional people working together is how you can transform stuff. There obviously needs to be state power and corporate power and people power, but you see that whether it's in South Africa or in Kenya, it really were these small groups of people trying to do good that are the force. They're the spear point, and in a sense they're at the forefront. Like I run into more stuff here where there's a lot of money to be made in quantity over quality. And so, we had a wild, I'm in LA and we had to deal with the fires, we got evacuated, and we had just done a NorCal ep that was all about water. And farmers talking about fires on the hillsides. And one of the things that is so amazing about regenerative is water capture. And a lot of people talk about soil health and building soil, and that's incredibly important. I mean, there was some stat I read that was like, when Europeans arrived to the prairie, the soil was 13 feet deep, and now it's less than a foot, which is like, holy smokes. But the capturing of the water in California is as equally important. There's actually can anyone tell me what they think the GDP for agriculture is in California? Anybody have any idea? What percentage of GDP? Anyone want to throw out a number? 67. Okay, 67. It is 3% of the GDP. And what percentage of the water is used? 97% of the water in California is used. Now, if that was regenerative farming, you would be capturing that runoff and filling back up the aquifer.
Right.
I mean, California is sinking, literally some places by 20 feet because the water is gone. So the earth is telling us, and as I jump around, I'm like, this is an obvious next step for us.
Right.
Whether we want to do it or not.
Right. You're piecing it all together. You're able to tell these stories with these farmers, with these chefs, with all of these different characters, right? What has been sort of most surprising to you, do you think, doing this series?
Whoa. What is most surprising? It's so interesting. I mean, every day you're in a college, you're in a graduate course. So every day you're learning, like, your mind is being kind of blown. Whether I'm in with the chefs, like, don't crack an egg on an edge of a bowl, crack it on the flat so you won't get shells in your egg. And then with farmers, I think that I think what I've learned, probably the most important thing, is there are lots of people that I think there are professions that we all agree should make more, whether it's nurses or teachers or whatever. And the people who bring the food to us are at the top of that list.
Absolutely.
So I think the economics behind it, and I heard someone else talking about, support the farmers, and that's really at the heart.
Yeah.
So they can do regenerative work, right? So they can test and find the path.
Experiment, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Remind folks where they can find and watch the
Peacock.
show.
Peacock. We just found this out a month ago. So yeah, please.
Congratulations.
And Tastemade and Samsung Plus. And
when does the next season come out?
in November.
Fantastic.
November. Yeah.
Amazing.
Hawaii. Really deep dive into Hawaiian culture and the food that was brought there. So that'll be our premiere app, I think.
Amazing. Thank you so much, David, for sharing all this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Before we move on to the next panel, we're excited to share a few copies of From Scratch, Adventures in Harvesting, Hunting, Fishing, and Foraging on a Fragile Planet by David Moscow. If you look under your chair right now, you might find a fruit or vegetable sticker underneath. If you show that to a food tank team member at the registration desk, they'll give you a copy of the book. So I'll give you a minute to do that, and then you have to settle in. Oh, Kenzie has them right here. Amazing, amazing. All right, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our next fireside chat in just a second. Great. All right, thank you. So I get to welcome to the stage my good friend, Sam Kass. Sam is a partner at Acre Venture Partners, the former senior policy advisor for nutrition in the Obama administration, and an author whose new book, The Last Supper, How to Overcome the Coming Food Crisis, is coming out next month. Please give him a round of applause. Sam Kass.
Hi, everybody.
Hey. I've been looking.
Okay?
Yeah.
You doing all right?
Yeah. I've been looking forward to this conversation all week, my friend.
Me
and
too.
All I can say is, WTF.
We're going to title this talk WTF.
Dude, where are we? Where are we with everything?
Oh, that's a big question.
Well, let's start with
Yeah.
what we've been seeing with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Give me your thoughts.
All right. So I'm going to do my best and just not have this be a long list strain of profanity. Look, I think I have a lot of dear friends who are supporters or have been supporters of RFK.
Yeah.
And they are because they buy into the critique of what's wrong. And it's a critique that has long been uttered. We basically said the same critique when we were in the White House, and people have been saying it for decades. But it's largely one that has a lot of truth in. I don't agree with everything he says, but I think most of it is right.
Right.
And that's intoxicating coming from now the head of HHS, because we want people who understand the problems to be in the positions of power. It all falls apart really fast when you get to the parts of what are actually the root causes of those problems and what are the solutions. I genuinely think that he is the greatest threat to public health the country's ever faced. And he is doing all of us a great disservice by kind of laundering this administration, by particularly for key constituents like suburban moms and young families with young kids who are worried about now vaccinating their children or that there's some poison in their food. He's drawn support to a whole set of policies that are destroying our ability to ensure that we have a healthcare system that is protecting the well-being of kids. They're absolutely gutting every effort around mitigating the worst of climate change across the entire government, and which is, I would argue, the biggest threat to public health that the world faces. I don't think you can overstate the threat.
Yeah.
And when you start to get into some of the specifics, you're going to have to cut me off because I will talk for literally the whole other 15 minutes.
Go.
I mean, you start to talk, okay, let's just stick with food for a second. We got a lot of challenges. And, two of the biggest things they focused on so far, food dyes. Let's just start with food dyes. I'm not a champion of food dyes. I'm happy to see them go. But Fruit Loops with food dyes or not food dyes is still not something you should be feeding your kids. And if we ate non-food dyed Fruit Loops, we're not going to be any healthier.
Yeah.
There is no evidence that food dyes are causing any negative health consequence. The reason they haven't banned it is because you have to prove harm to revoke an approval. You cannot do that. So that's why they have done a voluntary approach, and lo and behold, they all came running to do it. Why? Because it doesn't matter to them either.
Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's why they all lined up to sort of really quickly pull them out. Seed oils. Guys, seed oils. Seed oil playbook is exactly the playbook for all the stuff they're doing. Pull one study that casts some doubt somewhere, even lightly, which flies in the face of hundreds, if not thousands, of other studies that have been done, scare people, and then lo and behold, the Means family or the Food Babe has some product they want to sell you that magically solves that problem for the cheap price of $79.99. And it's the playbook that they're running.
Yeah.
And it's super dangerous. It's so insane that this man went to a fast food restaurant to promote a cheeseburger and french fries fried in beef tallow as something that was healthy.
Yeah.
So it's hard to overstate this. So I actually think from a food side, the best case right now is that there's not a lot of damage. The worst case, like if you eat a bunch of saturated fat, and everybody starts eating like that, that is terrible for public health. That's settled science. But then you start getting into the vaccines and the significant rise in lack of confidence in vaccines.
Yeah.
The absolute attack on science across the board, on truth.
Right.
It's hard to overstate the implications of that for how we govern ourselves and make decisions going forward. And now it's just like spiraling into the bizarre. But I think the bizarre has something behind it. The Tylenol thing this week was so insidious, and just like, you don't know whether to laugh or cry. I mean, the president can't even say the word. He says we get kids 80 vaccines. It's like a horse. Did you see that he said that? And here we are now scaring moms and giving formal guidance in the most vulnerable, stressful time in any person's life, especially for the mom, but as a dad, trust me, that's also stressful because you don't want to hurt your baby, to cast doubt without any basis in science on this correlation. And Kennedy, in the justification for this policy, said that 40 to 70% of moms of autistic children think that it was from vaccines. Therefore, we should ban Tylenol. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
But I think the one last thing I'll say, and then I'll pause and you can point me in whatever direction, but I'm happy to spend the next 10 minutes continuing to talk about this subject.
Me too.
I hope we do. I don't want to lead the questioner, but I just did. Is this man, you have to remember, he's a class action lawyer. He made his money suing people. It's a business. When he got questioned in his confirmation hearing, would he commit to not profiting from any policy that he implemented while at HHS from a class action lawsuit, he refused. What happened on this week around Tylenol was nothing else than to set that class of drugs up for suit. There had been class action suits attempted on Tylenol before. They failed because there's no evidence. But now that the government takes an official position, that's enough to bring it. The same thing is happening on vaccines. That's why they're trying to revoke there's policies that protect vaccine makers from class action suits. Because it's in the public interest to maintain herd immunity, which we're now starting to lose on things like measles. That's what this is about in the end, I think. And I think we'll start to see a ton of activity there because there's simply no justification to do in the science to do anything that's happening right now.
Yeah. You mentioned how RFK Jr. is intoxicating to some of the people that we know, some of our friends who care deeply about these issues. And, I wonder how we maybe reconcile that when the attacks over, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program and everything, small farmers, et cetera, all the cuts at USDA, all the firings, et cetera, the dismantling of USAID, how do we reconcile all of that? How do our friends who are intoxicated reconcile that in their heads?
You're going to have to ask them because I don't think it's really possible. But I will say to all of my friends, and some of you might be here, who have been supporters. First of all, I love you. We want you back.
You joined a cult. Call your dad.
Actually, I think it actually really is important to give people who had hope in him and wanted to support somebody who was bringing these issues the sort of spotlight that it deserved. You got to give him credit for that. I'm actually empathetic. I get why there's a predisposition to want to support him, even if you're willing to take on all the rest of the attack on democracy and authoritarian regime, threats that were happening even during the campaign and now are playing out. I'm still empathetic, and I get why people want to go that way. But the fever has to break now.
Sure.
This is way too serious. Every policy they've enacted at HHS and at USDA has undermined in dramatic ways our ability to make sure, especially the most vulnerable among us, can be healthy. The massive cuts to Medicare and Medicaid, the SNAP, all the work on SNAP is a guise to cut SNAP. It is not to make it healthier. Anybody who says otherwise, they don't know what they're talking about. This is an attempt that has been ongoing, and we fought this fight so many times, is to just whittle away SNAP benefits. If you want to put restrictions on SNAP, which, by the way, I would be supportive of, in only this instance if you're raising the total benefit and meaningfully. Mm-hmm. Everybody should go try to live on SNAP for a week and then tell me, should we restrict it without giving more money? The way it's calculated is like you're supposed to eat like 50 servings of beans a week, right? It's insane. The program people need more money to eat. If you want them to eat healthier, they need more money in their pocket to do so.
Absolutely.
So at every turn, the reality of what's happened does not match, the critique.
Right, right.
And at this point, any support for him, any caveating, which I hear so many, and heroes of mine who've probably been here this week, sort of probably saying the same thing. Well, I like this part, but no. All of it cannot be supported because it's all part of a bigger attack on truth, on science, on democracy, on poor people, on people of color, on farmers.
Yep.
Go talk to a farmer right now. They are suffering.
Crisis.
They don't have people to farm. The inputs are through the roof. The tariffs are closing markets. Like, it's an assault across the entire value chain. And when you caveat it, being like, well, I don't like this other stuff, but these two things, then you're whitewashing the whole thing.
Yeah.
This must be and this for me, it's not a partisan thing. Like, if they were doing good stuff, I would have to swallow my pride and say, well, the Republicans were the ones who did it. And I would have, and I was prepared to.
Right.
But that's not what this is, and it can't just be like I'm going to say the good things and the bad things. No, right now this is part of the most existential threat to democracy and to health that we're going to face, I hope, in my lifetime, and I hope we're able to overcome it. Thank you.
Yeah, the assault on poor people, the assault on science, what keeps me going is that I know there's a day after, right? Whether it's a new Republican administration or the Democrats or, the Libertarians, whoever is in power, I'm thinking about, 3.5 years from now, hopefully, what do we do then? How do we reinvigorate, the truth? How do we reinstill a belief in science-based evidence?
Well, I think we got phases, right? We got about a year to the midterms. So right now we just have to try to protect what we can. There was a lot of momentum. We built a lot of good things. We made a lot of progress. It's all being, assaulted and damaged severely.
Mm-hmm,
Some things, some nonprofits are going to go away. A bunch of companies who are doing good work aren't going to make it. Funding is drying up. The big businesses who they're trying to serve aren't spending money on it because they don't feel any pressure to. So there's real damage being done. And I don't want to, pretend like it's not serious. But, there's a lot that can weather the storm. And so I think the key is keeping it alive and helping to support it through this next period. And there's this next year, and then the most important thing for us to do is vote and make sure everybody and a bunch of people you don't know vote. This has to stop in the midterms. That will be like the break, or at least a break, at least from the congressional side. And Congress can start to help gum up the wheels and slow things down a little bit.
Sure.
But the damage will continue for 2 more years after that, and then the question is going to become what happens to the next general. And if we don't have somebody in position of power, I don't agree with you, party agnostic, although there's only, unfortunately, one party who believes right now that climate change is even a real thing, we just have to win that election.
Yeah.
Or at least somebody's got to be in there who believes in science and believes in trying to put in policies that are going to help us mitigate the worst of what we're facing. And if we don't, then it gets dark.
Yeah.
But between now and then, there's a lot of opportunity to get ready for a moment that we can make tremendous amount of progress.
Yeah.
And that's how it works, right? It swings back and forth. And we should be preparing ourselves now that when there's some tailwinds that come, like we have wings that are ready to fly. And that means, starting to organize, starting to start new groups, or joining one that's struggling that needs some help.
Yeah.
building that infrastructure, those tools and technologies that we need. Everybody in their different parts of the ecosystem has a role to play. And then there will be a time as things, and I think sadly what's going to happen is that things are going to keep getting worse. We're going to see more disruptions in food. You know, a lot of what, here comes a shameless plug for the book. A lot of what my book talks about is sort of how food system is already grappling with and being dramatically impacted by climate in ways that I don't think we've really grappled with. And so people are going to start to see that more and more. And I think we'll get deeper into the culture, the sense that, wow, we really do have to do something about whatever you call it, climate change or changing weather, whatever words, you know, resonate. I think there will be a chance to make a lot more progress coming out of this.
Yeah, and I don't want to Pollyanna this, but I do think there is an opportunity for us as a movement to really come together in a bigger way than we have. And, you know, what we've been talking about this week, Sam, is like, you know, everyone in this room is here because they care about the climate crisis. Who we need in this room is people who don't understand why the climate crisis is happening or how it affects our food and agriculture systems. And I wonder what your advice is to actually, you know, speaking to people who we don't agree with and actually listening to them as well, because I think it has to be this sort of two-way street, because I didn't understand that the Maha moms were going to be so powerful, right? And I didn't listen to them. I brushed it off, and I really should have listened.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and this is true across the board. I mean, the title of the book comes from a meal that I first did in Paris at COP21, or when they were doing the big accords, because nobody back then at all was talking about food. It, like, literally was never mentioned in those COP and climate circles. And so it was an attempt to try to be like, first of all, like, hey, over here, guys, us too. But also help to give the environmental movement a language to connect on an emotional level with a much broader swath of society, because nobody knows what 2 degrees means.
Right.
1.5. I always joke, like, as a kid from Chicago, like, warming it up 2 degrees sounds like a great thing to do. Like, we should, that's good, right? You know? Like, the words climate change are meaningless. But when you start understanding that, you know, coffee, wine, and chocolate are being devastated right now, and our kids and grandkids might not have any. Like, there was no real cava coming out of Spain last year. Cocoa prices are up 200% year over year because of climate. All of a sudden, somebody who doesn't care about climate change, who just loves coffee or chocolate, might be like, oh, shit, like, maybe we should do something about that. Because it connects with their lives. It gives people a reason to care. And it's not political.
Right.
And so the emotional connection has been the part I think has really been missing. So food is the way. And so I think we should start speaking to people's hearts more than their minds.
Yeah.
And leading with love and empathy. And that's hard right now because, like, I'm angry. I'm angry at all the people who've enabled this.
Yeah.
But we have to work through that, because if we're just yelling, we're not gonna bring anybody over. And using ways, touching the things that people care about, and that letting that lead is, I think, the way in. And it's hard. It's hard work, but I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, it is hard work. I think I've learned this year it's okay to let myself mourn, but that, you know, your advice about leading with love and empathy is the way forward. It's okay to be, like, you know, angry and sad, but, like, we got to think about what's next.
Yeah, we have to.
When does the book come out?
October 7th. You can pre-order it on those little cards there. And, you know, it's I'll just be honest and say the book is like 6 years late, and God bless my editor, Francis Lamb, for sticking with me and the whole team. But I'm sort of happy I'm late, because I think the timing is pretty good right now. Yeah. So hopefully can get the word out about what we need to do to get ourselves out of this problem.
Congratulations. Thanks for ending Climate Week with me.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Round of applause. I want to thank Arva, Kiss the Ground, and everyone who contributed to today's discussions, especially our host, WNYC. This is a perfect space for these discussions. Please give them a huge round of applause for having us. Our culinary partner, Great Performances. You're going to have a really wonderful, beautiful, and delicious reception. Give them a round of applause. And thank you to the Food Tank team who inspire me every day. And thank you to Bernard Pollock especially. His mom is in the audience. Give them a round of applause. And thanks to all of you who are here in person and online. We can't do this without you. Thank you all for your participation. Thanks, Sam Kass.